G'day and welcome to some analysis from last weekend's test against Fiji and the upcoming test against England. First thing we want to talk about was where the game's won and lost, and that's up front with the ruck. So let's have a discussion about some of the techniques and tactics used last week against Fiji and what might happen this week against England. First off, let's have a look at the technique that the Wallabies did employ on the weekend, and basically what they didn't do was ruck and what they did do was fan defence. So if we have a look at this situation here, you can see that there's less of a ruck going on and more of a American line of scrimmage. Dick Brown does have a pop, but that's actually one of the only two counter rucks that was made in the whole of the first half. This second clip, I guess, shows that even better is just how the Wallabies are really not looking to compete at these breakdowns at these points, but just fan out and put together a defensive line. Now, the next clip, I guess, shows why they're doing it and actually why it worked pretty well against Fiji. In this passage of play, what you can see every time is the Wallabies not committing to the ruck, but instead fanning out. And this extra numbers across the back line basically allows then the Wallabies to get an up and in defence going. And here we can see that where Giddo and Digby and Drew have used line speed to come up and jam the Fijians back into the centre of the field. And if you think about it, against Fiji, it's probably not a bad tactic with their big, strong runners out wide. And they continue to do this time and time again. Here's another example. Fijians have taken it up. They've actually probably got a almost, 2-on-1 overlap out wide. But by jamming them up, the Wallabies have managed to fan them back into the centre of field. Now, this goes on for another, I think, 5 or so phases. The Fijians really not getting anywhere. And eventually, through some good defensive tackling, the Wallabies managed to force a turnover here. Now, there are a couple of dangers of this technique, and we're going to go through those now. The first, the Fijians actually highlighted a couple of times on the weekend, and that's the pick and go through the middle of the ruck. Obviously, if you're fanning out, you don't have the weight and the numbers of men there. And twice, the Fijian number 8 made good yards and got behind the gain line through this really direct approach. The second one, we're going to see the Poms doing this now in a clip against the Six Nation champions France in the last competition, is just through pace. Pace of the ball, pace of reset, pace of realignment. And here we see the Poms moving the ball. They're not just going side to side, but they're actually getting some pace on the ball, and they're getting some go forward at each of these rucks. Every now and again, the Poms remember that quick ball is almost indefensible, and when they get this going, using their forwards here to make some great clear-outs and making yards as they're making clear-outs, they become really, really dangerous. A little bit of handling here. Remember, this is a big Pommy backline, and you're going to see a lot of these guys actually playing against Australia on the weekend. So here we see a hit up. We then get a really, really fast, quick ball. French backlines on their heels. And here we see the Poms have realigned nicely, and we see Foden put in the corner. I think in a minute here we're just going to see an overhead shot, which shows this even better in the last play. Watch this. This one hit up has taken about 10 yards. The French backs are put backwards. Now look at this line-up, and you can see the Poms coming from depth, and the French simply not having the numbers through not being able to realign, and it's a nice try in the corner. So what strategy are we going to see this weekend? I think it's going to be fascinating. The Poms can do both that direct approach, and if they discover some speed, we could be in trouble if we're not a little bit more direct and thinking about more of an aggressive approach, like we did see once last weekend against Fiji in this situation where the Wallabies did flood a breakdown when they saw the opportunity on, and here we can see what the result was. Next, I wanted to have a look at a couple of players and see how their performances are playing into the overall strategy of the Wallabies. The first one's Nathan Sharpe. Now, if you just look at the rucks hit, you might get the impression that Sharpe and Rocky aren't really pulling their weight compared to some of their other teammates. But the more that you look back at the game against Fiji, and the more you see that actually Sharpe and Rocky had really different roles to play, and that was to gain the go forward that's so vital in the game, and that we're no longer getting from monsters like Cliffy Palu and Tatafu Piloto now. So while they might not have been hitting quite the monster number of rucks that David Pocock did, both Rocky and Sharpe were delivering something that probably they were uniquely placed to do. And if we look at this chart, we can see then what that means to their work rate. And the person who actually stands out to me and has kind of a little bit unsung is Dean Mumm, quite phenomenal. The other person I wanted to talk about was Kurtley Beale, who's going to be on the bench this weekend against the Poms. Last weekend he had a really good game. Sure, there was one or two fluffs at the beginning of it. In reality, only one knock-on and maybe one positional fluff that we'll see here. But for the rest of the game, he was excellent, and he's doing the same thing for the Wallabies so far that he did for the Waratahs last year, which was to really unlock their attacking potential from the back. In this clip, you know, he's shown how actually his handling is actually regularly fantastic, and here he's showing how he knows how to take space. But the couple of things that I find really excellent about his play, and I think that are making the difference for him, or have made the difference for him in the Waratahs and now the Wallabies, is he's far more direct now. He's able to, using his size and what looks like newfound fitness, he's able to make yards in the tight stuff. But then he's able to use his sixth sense of being able to see space and know what's going on. It's a little bit like Quade Cooper's, if you like. And here he uses that to put himself in the right place at the right time. Here backing up, but then knowing where the man is. And here's the offload to Quade, which then makes a fantastic attacking opportunity. Here he's reading Quade's mind as far as the chip kick or the grubber that was almost on. And then here again, showing this backup. So not only does he distribute the ball from the back, but watch how he tracks across now. He sees Digby, reads him, watches him, stays with him, takes the pill. But this is where it would have broken down for a lot of Wallabies who would have tried to make it to the line themselves. Instead, Beale's able to offload. I think he makes a fantastic option for the Wallabies, and it will be interesting to see how he goes.